from the News Channel 5 network. This is the plus side of Nashville.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm Tawanda Coleman. You know, I'm always happy to talk about the work of one of Middle Tennessee's oldest and most respected organizations, and that is the Boys and Girls Club. As they continue their efforts to support our local youth, they have some exciting things going on, and we'll tell you all about it in the second half of our show. But we're starting things off today talking about a societal problem that could be affecting your children. So how much time does your child spend playing video games or on the computer? How about their phone? Well, there's research that shows that extended periods of time in front of an electronic screen could be doing more harm than good on our children. And here to talk more about that is Stacy Jagger, who's a licensed therapist and who sees the results of some of these electronic communications in her practice. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Well, it's so interesting what you've been researching and what your work has been showing you. Talk a little bit, Stacy, about the research and the statistics that's the number of hours that our children spend in front of some sort of electronic media.
Yeah, so research shows that children are on iPad, iPhone, computer, TV, Wii, video games about 7 hours a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it also shows that a lot of times that our children are feeling less connected than ever, even though they're constantly on their phones or on their computers talking back on social media to their friends. So how is that possible that they're not feeling this connection?
Well, there's reality and then there's virtual reality. So reality, we're using our 5 senses. So I don't know about you, but my favorite memory as a child was being in my grandmother's kitchen. So what could I hear? I could hear her singing. I could smell her apple pie. I could feel her love, and I was using my 5 senses, right? So virtual reality really means almost real. And we're not using our 5 senses when we're using virtual reality. So a child is not going to remember their best day of television.
That's so true.
Yeah.
A lot of times we'll see or we'll hear about how often the kids are, you know, we set them down in front of a TV to sort of entertain them, even when they're just like a toddler. So you can get a little work done around the house and the kids are sitting there watching their little movies or what have you. Is it too early? When is it too early to start our kids in front of a TV? Or
well, most pediatricians encourage you to wait till they're at least 2 years old. That's not possible for lots of families. And, you know, screens are not the bad guy. It's the amount of screen time that is the bad guy. That creates a situation where over time the child ends up feeling very isolated because they're not getting enough eye-to-eye contact. They're not getting enough reciprocal play and enough interaction with people. You know, they're looking at screens.
And they're not going outside to play.
Right.
You know,
That's
like
exactly
you said, when I was growing up, you know, hanging around with my grandma and watching her cook, and, you know, we weren't constantly having that media in front of us. There are some physical and actual sort of mental types of things that transpire when there is that overstimulation from electronic media, and I think you're seeing this in your practice.
Well, what I'm seeing is the frames per second that young children are watching. It's not necessarily the content, it's the frames per second that are so quick that the child's brain will hyper-focus on the frames per second, so that when you take the media away, their brains are actually still looking for that stimulation. So they want to be plugged back in. They're begging to be plugged back in because their brains are looking for, how can I be stimulated?
Does that affect the way they interact with their parents or friends?
Well, you tell me.
Yeah.
What are you saying? I'm
just saying that there's not any interaction because they're sitting next to each other.
Right.
Both of them right next to each other, texting each other.
Right. It's really a huge cultural problem right now that kind of needs to be put into a better perspective.
It really does.
Yeah.
And I know you're working to try to help make that happen. And you're right now, you've got what you call the 30-day blackout that you're wanting to encourage families to try. Tell me a little bit about that.
So about 5 years ago, I just had a crazy idea. that I call the 30-day blackout. And what I tell the parents is what we're going to do. In order to get your child back, we're going to turn everything off for 30 days. So every iPad, iPhone, computer, TV, video games, we're going to turn it all off. And that is the point that parents look at me like I have about 7 heads.
Right. Because they know the kids are going to just have a heart attack.
Right. And so what I encourage is to blame the whole thing on me.
Okay.
So I'm the scapegoat. And the parents will go home and just say, you know what, guys, we're not connecting the way that we really want to. And for that reason, we're going to turn everything off. I've had children melt down in my office and have to be scooped up and carried away.
I can believe
when
that.
they find out they're about to lose their screens. But the way that it works is the first 5 days are extremely hard.
Yes.
So I prepare the family for that. And then the children walk through what I call the door of boredom. And when they walk through that door, they truly believe that boredom is going to kill them. But it's never happened.
No, it hasn't. I don't think
anybody's
ever died from boredom.
No. And then the next 3 weeks after that, I simply encourage and coach the parents to replace connection activities for what used to be entertainment.
Wow.
And through that process, from day 1 to day 31, I wish that you could see what I see, because in the beginning, I can see a young child that can't even maintain eye contact for more than about 30 seconds. And at day 30, 31, they have a whole different experience of connection. And when they're mad at me in the beginning, they're very grateful and writing me testimonials at the end.
Well,
so it's very, very worth it. It's worth it.
It sounds so worth it. And we've got some talking points that when we come back of what you're asking parents and children to do, and you will definitely want to get a pen and paper, write these down, and we'll talk more about that when we come back. So stay with us.
Okay.
Because I want us to go